Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dhyaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Zava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshimaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome to our Tripura. We have seen last week up to the verse 49, chapter 12. We stopped at the story was going on that the son of the sage, okay, we had the situation with that king that sent the son and the armies to go after wild horse, and then they should bring this wild horse. It's a kind of a ritual to be sacrificed in a special, important event. And then somehow they were all excited. They passed by the famous sage. I forgot the name of the sage. And without paying respect to the sage. And the sage was very important. All kings support the sage. At the time, every great entity or institution would support this knowledge, the preservation of this knowledge. But they were excited. They did not pay attention to the sage. The sage was in very, very profound Nirvikalpa Samadhi that was going to last for a few thousands of years, if I remember well. And then his son, who was a great yogi on his own, took offense for his father, and then it put up a fight with the two princes, with the children of the king, and destroyed a good chunk of the army and imprisoned them inside of the mountain. So as we know, this the son of this sage was a great yogi. Yeah, he did a lot of work, and then he managed to create a certain sort of reality of his mind. And he imprisoned everybody there. And then later on, some people who escaped alive told the situation to the king. The king said, big mistake, you can never upset these yogis, these sages, because they have much more power than us. Go there and please them until they release my children, the princes, and my army, because we need to do the performance of the ceremony of sacrifice of this horse. We remember. Okay, so that was the last thing we did. And then the boys went back, some people went back, or another child went back and say, please, 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 we made a mistake, but give me back my other brother and the horse, we need them. And then I said, okay, so I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to awake my father off of this samadhi. I hope he's not going to kill me on the spot. He does not like to interrupt in his Mahasamadhi. And then he did. And then the king said, hey, my boy, so control your temper, okay? So you did not need to be all angry about that. So now release, release everyone from your universe there inside of the mountain, because these ceremonies, these rituals are important. So, and I don't want the performed appointment to delay. Direct thus the sage's son immediately appears. He went into the hill and returned with the horse and the princes and released them all with pleasure. He was pleasing his father. Mahasena sent the princes with the horse to the town. He was surprised at what he saw, and saluting the sage, asked him respectfully, "Lord, please tell me how the horse and the princess were concealed in that hill." Yeah. And he was talking to the sage. The sage is the son of the sage. So both are great yogis with great power. So the sage son replied, "Listen, O king, I was formerly an emperor ruling the empire bounded by the seas. After a long while, the grace of God descended on me, and I grew disgusted with the world as being but trash in the light of consciousness I am within. I abdicated the kingdom in the favor of my family, my children, and retired into the forest. My wife, being dutiful, accompanied me here." So maybe he's still talking to the father. I'm not sure, because I understood that the father went right back into his samadhi, but maybe he stayed a while, and then the Rahasya was, happy, and then had the chance to talk to the father sage. And then he continues saying, my wife being dutiful accompanied me here. Several years were passed in our penance and austerities. Once my wife embraced me, and this son was born to her when I was in samadhi. Once my wife embraced me and his son. Once we made love, and then a child was born while I was already in one of my Mahasamadhis. She brought me to my sense, left the baby with me, and died on the spot. What a scene, huh? So after 9 months or more, he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you from your samadhi, but now there is a third person here, it's a baby. And I don't want to take care of him alone. You only like your samadhi. Keep the baby because I'm out of here." And then she died. She left the body. And that's my son. And he became a sage on his own. This boy was brought up by me with love and care. When he grew up, he heard that I had once been a king. How beautiful this story. And then the child listened, "Oh, amazing. So you are a king, you have your own kingdom, and you renounced, you walked away from all of that to become a sage, become a yogi." He says, "Oh my God, and now I'm here learning to be a sage, learning to be a yogi, but there is something missing. What is that, my son? I was never a king." Mind is like that. It always wishes to have what it does not have. Doesn't matter, even if you have something so valuable as wisdom and yogic powers. And then he wished to be a king as well. And he prayed and insisted that I could help him. And then I initiated him in yoga so that he did not have to go through the trouble of developing his own kingdom here in this realm. So I taught him yoga, and he practiced with such intensity and earnestness that he was successful, and he was able to create his own world within this hill. And he's the ruler of this kingdom inside of this hill. The horse, the princess, were kept there. I have now told you the secret of that hill. After hearing it, Mahasena asked again, "I have with great interest heard your wonderful story about this hill. Can I see it? I would love to see it. Can you grant my prayer?" Being so requested, the sage commanded his son, yes. The sage says, "So don't give me any any assignments. I need to go back to my samadhi, but I'm going to have my son showing you around. After all, it is my son's kingdom. No? Son, go and show him everything, satisfy his desire. Having said thus, the sage again lapsed into samadhi, and his son went away with the son of the king. The sage son entered the hill without trouble and disappeared, but Mahasena was not able to enter. So he called out for the sage son. Just imagine the scene. One goes through and the other remains outside asking for help. So he too called out to the king from the interior of the hill. So the sage was from within calling the son of the king, and vice versa. And then after some time, the sage came out of the hill and said to the king, "Oh king, this hill cannot be penetrated with the slender yogic powers that you do not possess. You will find it too dense. You are not going to be able to enter it. You need to make your body very subtle so that you can penetrate this realm or dimension, something on those lines." Nevertheless, you must be taken into it as my father ordered. So we need to find a solution. Now, leave your gross body in this hole covered with bushes. Nobody's going to see it, and your physical body is going to be useful later on. Okay, leave your gross body here and enter the hill with your mental body, with your mental sheets, your mental kosha. And then you're going to come along with me. The king could not do it. And he asked, "Tell me, sage, how am I to throw off my body and enter with my subtle body together with you? If I do it forcibly, I will die." Okay, so the only way to leave this body is to die. He could not find any other way to do that. The sage smiled at this and said, "You do not seem to know yoga, my dear. Well, close your eyes and I will do things for you." The king closed his eyes. The sage forthwith entered into him. So the sage left his gross body, took his subtle body into the gross body of the king. Okay, and then once it was there, he just did like that. "Get out of here." And then, poof, the prince was off the body, free from the body. And then the sage left the body as well. They kept the body nicely, hiding. And then both subtle bodies or whatever entered the mountain. Then by his young power, the saint entered the hill with this subtle body, snatched from the other, which was filled with the desire of seeing the empire, was seeing the hill. So I don't know if the subtle body of the prince, the king, was entered consciously or was totally out of it. So it seems almost that the sage took it, and then later on, most probably slapped him somehow to bring him back and say, "Come on, you came to enter here, be conscious now." Once inside, he rose up the sleeping individual. Yeah, he was off, he was unconscious, brought him back to consciousness to dream. So once inside, he rose up the sleeping individual to dream. the later now found himself held by the saint in the wide expanse of space. So now he was in that dimension, which there is a suggestion here that is more or less like a dream state, in which the entire kingdom was appearing, but before he finds himself in that dimension, in that space. Note the Atvarhika Shahira, the astral body, different names for his bodies, is exhaustively treated in Yoga Vashishta. Yoga Vashishtas, I don't know, Mark probably know this book. I used to have this book when I was in Lucknow during the 90s, and I used to read it. Papaji was a fan of this book because Papaji was, after all, a yogi, more than anything, more than a Vedanta guru or anything like that, teacher. So, but I lost, most of my books was lost, yeah, in time. But it gave me the idea, maybe I should look a little bit into these esoteric things, you know, of the Vashishta. The astral body is available for anybody curious to try to understand. He was alarmed on looking in all directions and request the sage, "Do not forsake me, lest I should perish in this illimitable space." So he was in an open space with no ends, no borders, and was feeling like so helpless and small and insignificant in the vastness of the ether. The saint laughed at his terror and said, "I shall never forsake you. Be assured of it. Now look round at everything and have no fear." The king took courage and looked all around. He saw the sky above, enveloped in the darkness of night and shining with stars. He ascended there with his astral body. The king, the prince, went up there and looked down below, and he came to the region of the moon and was benumbed with cold. Protected by the saint, he went up to the sun and was scorched by its rays. Again, tended by the sage, he was refreshed and saw the whole region counterpart at the heaven. He went up the summits of the Himalayas with the saint and was shown the whole region and also the earth. Again, endowed with powerful eyesight, he was able to see far-off lands and discovered other worlds besides this one. So I tell you, the people attract to this kind of esoteric experience, mysticism. If they get into this book, they are going to be like, you know, desperate to have this sort of powers or experience, you know, these interdimensional travels and seeing things and so on. Endowed with powerful eyesight. In the distant worlds, there was darkness prevailing in some place. The earth was gold in some other place. There were oceans and island continents traversed by rivers and mountains. There were the heavens peopled by Indra and the gods. So he saw all kinds of realities or projections or apparent realities, realms, lokas, and there was the gods, Indra, the gods, even the asuras were there, human beings were there, the rakshasas were there, and many other races of celestial beings. He also found that the saint had divided himself as Brahma in Satyaloka. So there is a Satyaloka, a very, very elevated loka, and he found that the sage had divided himself as Brahma. So in such a loka, he was appearing as the creator, because after all, he is the creator of that universe. But he divided himself also as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the usual trinity of the creator, sustainer, and destroyer. While all the time he remained as his original self. All beautiful, huh? The self apparently dividing itself into this trinity. But he remains in his original self. The king ruling in the present world. So he was the original self. He was the king. The sage was the king ruling in that reality created by him himself. The king was struck with wonder on seeing the yogic power of the sage. The sage son said to him, to the king, "This sightseeing has lasted only a single day according to the standards prevailing here, whereas it lasted 12,000 years in our time outside there, whereas 12,000 years have passed by in the world we came from." Okay, now that you looked around, you understood that time is relative as well. So let's go back to where we came from, because I want to return to my father. Saying so, he helped the king, the prince, to come out of the hills back to the outer world. Thus ends the chapter 12 on sightseeing in the Ganda, the sage Ganda. The Ganda hill in Tripura, Rahasya. There was a Ganda hill and the Ganda, and the sage called Ganda. Chapter 13, how wakefulness and dream are similar in nature and objects are only mental images. This is beautiful and profound. How wakefulness and dream are similar in nature. So we look into this analysis, of dream state and awakened state, and Vedanta again and again presents a bunch of arguments and logic and analysis to prove that both of them are equally unreal. Both of them are equally mental images occurring within consciousness through the Jiva-Atma's mind in two different states, but they are just images happening within consciousness. We have many teachings present this parallel between the dream and the awake state and the awake world. The sage son made the king sleep, united his subtle body with the gross body, left in the hole, and then the king woke up. On regaining his sense, Mahasena found the whole world changed. The people, the river, course, the trees, the tanks, everything was different. Just imagine to have an experience like that. Sometimes we see some movies, films of fiction that presents this concept. You come back and then nothing is exactly the same because you are on a different timeline that was not proportional to our time space here. He was bewildered and asked the sage, "Oh, great one, how long have we spent seeing your world? This world looks different from the one I was accustomed to." Thus asked the sage son said to Mahasena, "Listen, king, this is the world which we are in and left to see within the hill, to see my kingdom within the hill. The same has undergone enormous change owing to the long interval of time. We spend only one day looking round the hill region. The same interval counts for 12,000 years in this land, and it has accordingly changed enormously. Just imagine the change over thousands of years, 12,000 years. Look at the difference in the manners of the people and the language. Culture has changed, manners have changed. Such changes are natural. I have noticed similar changes before. Look here. Jesus is the Lord, my Father in Samad. So the Father in Samad was still the same. Here you stood before, praise my Father, and pray to him. There you see the hill in front of you. The hill is still here. My Father is still here. But everything else, I mean, the hill, a mountain made of rock, usually is one of the most least changing thing, you know. So I think I probably mentioned to you there is a mountain there near Mount Shasta, much smaller mountain that I was so impressed every time I was there, because it is many millions of years old, much older than Mount Shasta, and you have this sense of eternity before something like that. So the mountain was there, the Father was there, because the Father is the self, yeah, appearing as this Tripura, appearing as the Turiya, the self in that state. By this time, your brother's progeny has increased to thousands. What was Vanga, your country, is now called Sundara, your capital. Your capital is now a jungle infested with jackals and wild animals. There is now one Virabahu in your brother's line who has this capital, Vishala, on the banks of the Tripura, in the country of Mao. In your line, there is Suzarma, whose capital now is Vardhana. Everything has changed. We know the planets, the surface keeps changing. Continents just go down, come up, join with others. And it takes very little to notice the change. Sometimes I don't recognize my small piece of land here, because there was a long period of rain here. I let it go a little bit wild, and then I say, oh my God, things have changed here. I don't recognize my land anymore. Such is the course of the world, which cannot remain the same even for a short time. For in this period, the hills, rivers, lakes, and the contour of the earth have altered. Mountains subside, plains heave high, deserts become fertile again, plateaus change to sandy tracks, rocks decompose and become silt, clay hardens sometimes, cultivated farms become barren, and barren lands are brought under tillage. Precious stones become valueless, and trinkets become invaluable. Salt water becomes sweet, and potable waters become brackish. Some lands contain more people than cattle. Other lands now are infested with wild beasts, and yet other lands are invaded by the venomous reptiles, insects, and vermin. Such are some of the changes that happen on the earth in that day we spend in the hill. But there is no doubt that this is the same earth, because here is my mountain, here is my Father. Mahasena heard all of that and said, fainted from the shock. Now, he heard and then he passed out. It was such a shock. Then, being brought round by his companion, he was overcome by grief and mourned the loss of his royal brother and brother's son and his father, wife, and children. After a short time, the sage son assured his grief with wise words. He said, being a sensible man, now we begin the teachings. Why do you mourn and at what loss? A sensible man never does anything without a purpose. So act without discernment is childish. And you are a mature man. Think now and tell me what loss grieves you and what purpose of your grief will serve. Yeah. So the first pointer here is that we can grieve as much as we wish, but does not change anything, does not achieve any purpose. It's not going to make anything better. You can grieve as much as you wish, okay? But it does not serve anything. And furthermore, you have to understand, okay, so since, my grief is not going to change anything, and then I have to investigate to see why I'm grieving, why I'm suffering, yeah? Why I'm having this emotional, sentimental pain of having lost things here, yeah? As does Mahasena, who was still inconsolable, retorted, great sage, and that you are, great sage that you are, can you not understand the cause of my sorrow? How is it that you seek the reason of my grief when I have lost everything? A man is generally sad when only one member of his family dies. I have lost all my friends and all my relatives, and you still asking me this question, why I am sad, why I am grieving? So are you crazy or you're trying to insult me? These are all relative. When you make when you analyze something from the standpoint of ignorance, you're going to present a certain logic that makes sense, to other ignorant people. So I have lost everything. People lose one relative and they suffer a lot. So I should love. It's my right to suffer more than anybody else because I lost everything. But then, from the perspective of wisdom, it doesn't matter if you apparently lost everything or if you apparently lost your beloved one. Grieving is illogical, and we're going to see a lot of nice analysis proving this point. The sage son continued derisively, think, tell me now, is this lapse into sorrow a hereditary virtue? Very, very interesting argument, Is this lapse into sorrow a hereditary virtue? So everybody passes it on because everybody is losing people, losing beloved ones, and then you pass it on. It is in the genetics. Will it result in sin if you do not indulge in it on this occasion? So are you compelled to suffer for some sin? It comes genetically, and if you don't do that, you're going to be a bad gal, a bad boy, because you are not behaving according to the culture. Have you thought about that? Because everybody is ignorant, and then some say, "Oh yeah, I lost my brother, I lost my mother," and then everybody, especially if it's people from Italy, Spain, that they are very dramatic. And then you stand there and say, no, all is good, all is good. Well, what do you mean all is good? You know, nobody dies. And moreover, I mean, it's just the 5 elements that, again and again, come back, creating not new configurations, there's nothing. And the soul does not die to begin with. Yeah? So if you say that, people are going to believe that you are crazy, of course. Or do you hope to recover your loss by such a grief? Some people, they believe there is something to be gained by grieving. Some people are so invested in suffering, that they cannot let go. They say, no, there is something in here. And usually it is what? Some stupid other beings are going to have sympathy and pity to me because my suffering is so big. Think well and tell me what you gain by your sorrow. If you consider it irresistible, listen to what I say. Yes, it is irresistible. I cannot help myself. And it's my right to suffer. Such loss is not fresh. Your forefathers have died before. Everybody dies. There is nothing new and unique in your loss. Oh, but I lost everybody. But everybody loses everybody. Doesn't matter. Okay, so you are having a shock treatment of losing everything and everyone at once. But everybody loses gradually. So it's a good opportunity for you to realize something here. So everybody in your family died before for several generations, and you never, ever mourn their loss. If you say that it is because of the blood relationship that now cause you grief, were there not worms in the bodies of your parents living on their nourishment? Why are they not your relatives? And why does not their loss cause you sorrow? Think who you are. Who are you? Whose deaths are the cause of your present grief? So this is a very extreme and radical argument here. Oh, no, it's because it's my blood. You heard about that. Oh, no, you lost. Who you lost? I lost my sister or my brother. Oh, it's a big loss because it's the same blood. So we have here small little mosquitoes that they call borrachudos, and they come to you and they are empty, and then very quickly they suck your blood, and then you have somebody who is the same bloodline with yours until they go and find something else to suck more bloods. Yeah. So the worms are going to have the same blood line of your relatives. So they all died. And what is the difference? I mean, don't tell me that is because of your bloodline. That's quite something. And we need to look into these things and on a practical way and see how the difference of relationship when we lose a son, a brother, a sister, a mother, I compare it to when we lose someone that are just, are my neighbors. You understand? No, what is the difference? Fundamentally, we cannot tell ourselves it's because of the same blood, It's BS. Are you the body or something other than the body? The body is simply a conglomerate of different substances. Harm to any one of these constituents is harm to the whole body. There is no moment in which each of these components is not changing. but the excretions do not constitute a loss to you. So you're losing things. The body is changing from moment to moment. It's a conglomerate of different substances. They have to be in balance so that the body is health, let's say. But anything going off balance, can bring about the death of the body. And be assured that at all times, these different constituents are all the time changing. These components are changing. Therefore, be alert that you may pop off this body at any time. But things are changing, and things are going in and going out, and you don't care for the things that are going to be going out, the excretions, because you don't consider that your body, but it's integral part of your body. Those whom you called your brother and so on are just bodies, and bodies are composed by the elements, earth. When lost, they return to earth. The elements, they are not sustained by the vital air at a certain point. The body became old, and then they go back to the earth, to the elements, and earth resolves ultimately into energy. Where is this? What is the loss? Nothing is lost. Everything is in a constant flux of changing from matter to energy ultimately, from the denser to more subtle, from the gross elements to the subtle elements, which come back into new configurations of bodies. In fact, you are not the body. You own the body and call it your own. This is a very interesting statement. So we say, this is my body. But it's not our body. You understand? Why? We did not pay anything for it. And we did not make it. We did not make it ourselves, and we did not pay for it. We did not purchase it online. No? So this body appeared, and we appeared somehow associated to this body. So when I say this is my body, the only thing that sustains this statement is a sense of possession. But it's not my body. Somebody told me that this is my body. Actually, people in society told me, you are this body, which is even more sad. In fact, you are not the body. You own the body and call it your own, just as you do to a garment or a shirt, that you happen to say, my shirt, my garment. Where lies the difference between your body and your garment? Both are foreign to you, but somehow you decide to own the body as my body. This has incredible implications. If I start seeing the body as a body, and all bodies as just body, just imagine if I began to own other people's body or other bodies, and say, okay, so Mark, this body now is my body. How come? I went online and I did a bit, okay? I want to buy an English body, and now it's my body. So I'm sorry, but now I possess your body. What is the difference between your body and your garment? Have you any doubts regarding this conclusion? Being other than your body, your own body, what relation is there between you and the body of Mark, another body? Have you any doubts regarding this logic? being other than your own body, because you possess the body, and then you say, no, I am something, and Jesus is my body. What is the relationship between I and the other bodies? I have a relationship with these 5 elements that, makes up this body. And then I can have a relationship with any other body. Okay? Because ultimately, fundamentally, it's just matter and energy, elements. Did you ever claim possession to somebody else's body? Did you ever claim similar relationships, such as your body is my body, that body is my body as well? I have 5 bodies. Why? Because I have money. I can buy as many bodies as I want. Did you ever claim similar relationships, say, with your brother's clothes? Okay, I say, no, your clothes now are mine, and your body also is mine. Why then mourn over the loss of bodies, which are in no way different from clothes or garments? You speak of my body, my eyes, my life, my mind, and so on. I ask you now to tell me what precisely you are. Very interesting, huh? My body, my eyes, my mind, my life history, and so on. So what are you? The body, the eyes, the mind. I ask you now to tell me what precisely you are. Being confronted thus, Maharaja began to think over the matter, and unable to solve the problem, he asked to leave to consider it carefully. So he said, give me some time. It's this, you threw a bomb on me. I don't know how to deal with all these questions. Let me do some manana and nididhyasana, or manana, and contemplation, and then I will get back to you. Then after some time, he returned and said with great humility to the sage, Lord, I do not know who I am. I do not see who I am. This is a very, very important moment in the life of any and all individuals, to come to the realization that I'm confused, I do not know what I am. I have considered the matter, and I still do not understand what I am. My grief seems to be very natural, okay? It's beyond me, I'm helpless, I cannot account for it, for my grief. It is part of nature. And then he becomes a disciple and say, Master, I seek your protection. Kindly tell me what it is that I am. Everyone is overpowered by grief when his relative dies. No one seems to know his own self, which is eternal and beyond birth and death. And nor does one mourn all losses. I submit to you as your disciple, please elucidate this matter to me. So he finally became a Vedantic student. He no longer wants to know about yogic powers and all these esoteric things. He wants to know what he is, who he is. He's not the body, he's not the mind. He got an introduction, a short introduction of something very mind-boggling, that he needs a complete teaching and a teacher. But he was challenged. You're going to say something, Lee?
Yes, it reminds me of Purnasya Purnamadatta Purnameva Vashishate, that fullness subtracted from fullness, only fullness remains. So it's lovely. Yeah.
Good. So tell me who you are then. I don't know. So he becomes a disciple, and then the teaching, the sage begins teaching him, listen, king, people are deluded by the illusion cast by her divine majesty, Tripura, or Maya, Brahman, Somehow there is a power that projects this universe and makes it look as real to the Jivatma. This is a great delusion or illusion. They partake of misery that is due to the ignorance of the true nature of everything, of the selves, of their selves and everything else. But their misery is meaningless. There's no substance in this suffering. I mean, we can say that it leads to investigation sooner or later. Misery and suffering sooner or later leads to investigation. So as long as the ignorance of the self lasts, so long will there be misery. So this is a strong statement, a very pure Vedantic statement. So you are suffering, you are grieving, because you don't know what you are. As long as this ignorance lasts, you're going to be suffering. There is no other way. So what is the pointer here is that this, the son of the sage, he was not only a great, powerful yogi with siddhi powers, but he was a jnani. He knew that the fundamental problem is self-ignorance, and the only solution is self-knowledge. As long as this ignorance lasts, you're going to be suffering a delusion that this world is real and your relatives are real, and now you are losing them. And then you have all the rights to suffer great misery because you don't know who you are. So this son's sage, the child of this great sage, who is a sage on his own, he is trying to say that, all this universe, all this power I have, is just a game for me. There is nothing much in it. This is not real. But get it together. This also is not real. All the Namarupas are not real. My universe is not real. This is not real. That's why these two realities, to prove that both are equally unreal. Just as a dreamer is foolishly alarmed at his own dreams, or as a fool is deluded by the serpents created in a magic performance, the same way the man ignorant of the self is terrified. So there is fear, there is grief, there is suffering. We know that when we dream, we are deluded, tricked in a way that we're going to suffer great fear if the dream is a nightmare. The dreamer is foolishly alarmed at his own bad dreams. The same way you are deluded, or somebody else is deluded by a magic show presented by a magician, which is just a trick. Same way the ignorant man is terrified because he believes the world to be real, and he see the world falling apart. He see my body growing old and beginning to collapse, and he is terrified with great grief. You are afraid of something that is not real. The body is not yours. The body are just the elements gratified as matter, and nothing is lost. Everything goes back to its subtle realms, so subtle formations of energy, and so on. So understand the true nature of reality is you, consciousness. Everything is happening as images within you, and don't be terrified with the constant flow of change that we see in the world. Just as the dreamer awakened from his fearful dream, just as the man attending the magic performance was informed of the unreal nature of the serpent, no longer fears the serpent, but even ridicules another who is still fearing the illusory serpent. The same way, one aware of the self no longer, not only do not grieve, but also laughs at people's grief. So we wake up from a bad dream, and then in the first thing we say, oh, thanks God. There was no need for concern. So no need to be afraid. So I can calm down and go back to sleep. And then there is a magic performance. Again, everybody's terrified until the unreal nature of that snake is present. Don't be afraid. It's just a projection or a trick, illusion. The same way the self-ignorant is terrified with the world. The world is a source of fear. Desires for protection, for security is just the other side of this fear. Fear of this constant change, which offers no security. And then once you wake up from this delusion that I am the dying body, you're going to see yourself as the self, and you are not going to be afraid, and you're going to feel, compassion for those who are grieving for the deaths of the body and my body, other bodies, the change of the world, and so on. So the yoni it's not going to join the party. It does not need to just make fun, as it says here, but you respect the ignorance. You know that ignorance is really hardwired and difficult to be destroyed. Therefore, O valiant hero, batter down this impregnable fortress of illusion and conquer your misery by realizing what you really are. In the meantime, be discriminating and stop being a fool, period, So before that, discriminate Dharma and the Dharma and be a good Karma Yogi. In due time, you discriminate again and again reality from irreality until you realize that you are the only reality, the self, Satchitananda, and you will see your misery has vanished. But you need to be a hero. You need to be a great conqueror. To conquer this cosmic ignorance, this illusion referred as a video. After hearing the sage son, Mahasena said, Master, your illustration is not to the point. You did not understand me. What are you talking about? A dream or a magic is easily realized to be illusory, whereas this universe, concrete, tangible, physical universe, is real and will always be real because it serves a certain purpose. Jesus is unassailed and persistent and constant. It's always here. How can it be compared to the evanescent dream world? So we have heard this. We have seen these teachings before from different texts and this and that, you know. We keep following the logic present on different scriptures to have it solidified, concrete in our mind, in our understanding, the unreal nature of this physical, tangible universe. Although it appears to be structured in a way that gives us a sense of solidity and continuity. You know, oh no, it's really here, it's all here, because my father died and the universe was here before my father died and continues here, so this is real. And then here he presents a strong statement, says that you don't understand me. Your illustration does not make much sense. It's not to the point. This is real. And the other examples you gave me is unreal. And then the sage says, listen to what I say. Your opinion that the illustration is not to the point is a double delusion, like a dream in a dream. And then we go into more beautiful teachings coming in this Tripura Rahasya that we continue next Thursday, because I have to leave soon this home to attend some errands. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's very interesting because Vedanta presents us with so much logic and analysis to support the statement that the world is not real and you, the light of consciousness, is the only reality, and you are that consciousness. And a lot of the times we understand this free and independent nature as consciousness or true nature, without having to go through a lot of these logics. But these logics, they have a very nice purpose to sustain this self-knowledge in a much more hard and fast present way, because you have looked the logic as well presented by the Upanishads, and you have no doubt that I am this free, limitless, independent consciousness, and the world is just an image occurring within myself, consciousness. It's very beautiful. I enjoy it greatly. Music to my ears, as we say. Namaste.
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you, Ma.
Bye now.